For over 25 years, Sony's consoles were an integral part of my life. Yeah, cool, let's actually go straight to the point for once. Astro Bot is a great game, and I've enjoyed every single second of the about 15 hours I've spent playing it. From graphics, music, level design and gameplay that is constantly introducing new elements, or putting your knowledge and skills to the test when it comes to those you already experienced. It's easy to play, and no matter the skill level of the player, they should be able to finish it without a problem. But completing it fully, well, you'll have to work up a bit of a sweat for that, as it will put both your dexterity and perceptivity to the test. Just like with Astro's Playroom, Astro Bot is a collectathon platformer with obstacle course-like levels, though some of them are a bit more open. And you know, I think that Sony really needed a game like that for a while, as they are few and far between. Not to mention that it perfectly uses all of the DualSense's capabilities. Team Asobi managed to squeeze so much charm into one game that it just boggles my mind. Is it the game of the year though? No, not really. I wouldn't say so. Don't get me wrong, the game, while nothing groundbreaking, is extremely well made and, more importantly, a joy to play. But it is just that, a bloody good game. The fact that 2024 was such a good year when it comes to video games doesn't help it either. My personal game of the year would be Unicorn Overlord, but Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, Balatro or hell, even Palworld would be really good contenders too. Obviously, I recommend the game wholeheartedly. It is a must-have. If you have a PS5, that is. No matter if you're a hardcore Sony fan from the start, or if PS5 is your first console, this game will bring out your inner child and fill you out with wonder once again. And that's going to be the main part of this video. You know, when I ordered the game, the only things I knew about it were that it is a platform game with many things to collect, and that, according to many people, it's really good. I loved Astro's Playroom very much. It was the game that comforted me when I bought the PS5 for Gran Turismo 7, and then it turned out to be what it was. And I expected Astro Bot to be just a bigger, better version of the previous game, with a few nods to Sony's hardware, software and history, but not to the degree present in what essentially was an extremely impressive playable tech demo for PS5. Well, Astro's main objective is rebuilding his mothership, which is basically a big PS5, by collecting its components held by bosses. And to reach those bosses, you'll have to finish levels of their nebulas. Typical stuff. You'll also need to collect an arbitrary number of the game's collectibles each time. The other bots that were lost in space once the ship got damaged fulfill this role. Again, quite standard stuff for this genre. But then, very soon into the first level, you'll encounter your first special bot. I know this is going to be a surprise, but I really didn't know about their existence. I knew about the fact that Astro would transform into other Sony characters like Kratos or Nathan Drake, but I thought it was going to be just that. Gimmick power-ups to help you traverse through some levels and solve puzzles. Well, it wasn't. Of the basic 300 bots, about 1/3 of them are references to game characters from various games you could play on Sony's consoles of the past and present. And from the moment I collected Ratchet Bot, I thought that, okay, they probably only going to feature newer or the most known ones. And then I found Parappa, which made me think, no, there's no way that they would, and yeah, they included Lammy too. To my surprise, they weren't afraid to go for some really obscure and bizarre picks. I will never forget seeing an extremely weird bot in the distance thinking, is that... and then bursting out with sincere laughter when I realized that I was actually correct and that bot really had a stage from Kurushi or Intelligent Cube as its head. Every special bot is made to represent their real counterpart and is extremely easily recognizable, and even if your memory is hazy, the bot's name and a funny little subtitle will definitely point you in the right direction. Not going to brag, as it's more pathetic than amazing that a grown-ass man is able to recognize every stupid character, but outside of not being sure if the striker is from the International Superstar Soccer or from This Is Football, which was published by Sony themselves. I got them all correct. And sure, some games are represented by multiple characters who are nearly the same, but there's enough game representation that you'll be more than satisfied anyway, at least I was. There are also special Easter egg characters that are found in the hub zone, like Trico from The Last Guardian or Robit from Jumping Flash. Really great stuff. And while there are some missing franchises, I was really bummed out when there was no Tombi in sight. They suddenly added him and a few other missing bots in a holiday special level. So always keep your hopes up, as it might not be over for your favorite. I wish there was Digimon World representation, come on. But again, I'm going off the point. When I was playing Astro Bot, after nearly each special bot, I pestered my friends, sending them screenshots from the game to gush about each reference to a series from the distant past. For just a second, I relived the memories of each of the mentioned games, which filled me up with happiness. A happiness that I had to share, especially if the reference was funny or clever, but with that happiness also came a hint of some other emotion. For the whole first Nebula, I was unable to identify it accurately. Then, when playing a level that was a loving homage to a long dormant Sony series, Ape Escape, I finally realized what it was. And that happiness turned into sadness. I talked about it with my best friend, and he said something that was instantly burned into my mind. This game is like a tomb of Sony. It's something that deep inside I thought about, but my mind sort of censored it, at least until my friend pointed it out to me with these exact words. And I'm 100% sure that many people came to the same conclusion and posted about it, as it is quite obvious. You see, all these wonderful franchises that were lying dormant for years, if not decades, suddenly referenced and brought up to the public, awakening memories hidden deep inside, memories from more carefree times. It also makes you think about the state of gaming, about the AAA companies, fun being replaced by politics, and how the console manufacturer of your choice keeps making blunders. Astro Bot allows you to see a brighter piece of gaming history, games that made, or at least helped to make, Sony the gaming giant it is today. The most memorable moment of Astro Bot for me was the level Orbital Blitz, and if you played the game, you know exactly why. Once I've seen the first special bot of this level, I froze. It was the Piranha pilot from Wipeout, the series that is near and dear to my heart, and is pretty much dead, just like its creator, Studio Liverpool. I broke down a bit, feeling melancholic, knowing that I'll probably never get to experience a new installment of the series, but I was grateful for a respectful acknowledgement of the once great series. And then, I imagine my shock when I've also found pilots from AG Systems, Kyrex, Oricom, and finally, FISA. Every single team from the original Wipeout was here. And not only that, they've also dragged out the deep lore of the series into the descriptions. And you too may feel anger that they are bringing up the games, bragging about them, and yet allowing them to rot in limbo without any new releases. But should these games really be fully brought from their rest? The 8th and 9th generations were called by some the remake/remaster era, pointing out how recursive and uncreative studios are nowadays, just rehashing the old games, releasing them again barely changed to earn a quick buck, a trend that, to a degree, was starting during the later half of the PS3 life, and yet they constantly demand remakes and remasters of cult classics. Remember Medieval? There was a time when gamers clamored for Sir Daniel Fortescue to return, being very vocal about the series being forgotten, and then the remake happened and was released at a fairly reasonable price. And it flopped. Sadly, game development budgets have become extremely bloated, and to even break even, they practically need to reach as big of a consumer base as it is possible, and for many games we personally would love to see come back, the needed sales numbers are just unattainable. Many cynical people were saying that Astro Bot is a bait game, as in it was created to earn high scores from the press and awards just because it has so many references to previous, often hardcore, games, thus forcing people to love it. I mean, you reject a game that references many beloved titles, you must be an unwashed casual. There was a point when I also thought that it was pandering to gamers for the sake of pandering, but I've changed my mind. Games referenced in Astro Bot are there because Team Asobi wanted to honor them for all the memories they allowed to create. These are simple little love letters made for both games and their fans. There's just so much attention to detail and effort put in that I can't think about it as anything other than a product of sincere love from gamers to gamers. Something that the true Sony fans, not fanboys, deserved after having to suffer through the last few years of modern Sony. And guess what? Even if you would remove special bots and replace them with just normal bots wearing different clothes, accessories, or having fun animations/descriptions, the game would still be great, because we had something like that before. It was called Ape Escape, but I'm grateful that it is what it is. In the end, after all that yapping, I realized that Astro Bot isn't a tomb. It's actually more like a mausoleum. It honors each of the past and current franchises, preserving their precious legacy and making new players who never heard about many of these games curious and wanting to experience them by themselves. I think that's also really wonderful about this game. It will make new young players aware of forgotten classics, inspiring them to give them another go. And hey, maybe the rumors are true, and Astro Bot will also help to gauge the interest about certain games, making Sony at least consider putting them as PS1 or PS2 classics. Before I finish this already too long and unfunny rant video, I have two small requests. To everyone who is saying that the gaming is dying, stop saying such ridiculous claims. You know that it's not true at all. Statements like this undermine the passionate work of many smaller or indie developers who actually give a shit and want to deliver a valuable product to others. Sometimes you just have to remove the garbage that's on the surface to get to the good stuff. Seriously, nowadays there are so many games releasing that you will easily find something that you will love. And if you invest that love, who knows? Maybe in the future there will be more things like it. You're also an important drive in this business after all. Your passion and your money. And the second thing, games don't die. Well, those that aren't bound by the always online crap. Even if they'll never receive fancy remasters or sequels, you still have originals that you can get more or less legally, and they will still be as fun as you remembered them to be. So even if you're burned out on the modern games, there are still enough of the old ones to provide you fun for the rest of your lifetime. Stay optimistic, take care of yourself, and be sure to enjoy whatever you're doing.